Hello and welcome to the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike and Laurent. It is Tuesday, July 13th. In this episode, Leo Messi finally gets his trophy for Argentina. It's been a long time coming. Italy, the cunts, are the Euro 2020 champions. But first, England collapse after taking an early lead. Have we seen this before, Mike?
Oh, have we? It's interesting. There's actually multiple examples. I have had a tough year as a Tottenham Hotspur supporter. I've seen that movie, I don't know, maybe 18 to 20 times in a 38-game season. So yes, that movie sucks and it's old. But the thing that you brought up earlier today is actually even more interesting. Mm-hmm. So where have we actually seen this movie before? In
the semifinals of the 2018 World Cup. But it was worse that time because England got completely dominated. Like it wasn't, you never felt like England had a plan in this game. In the other game, they were just like, we don't know what to do. What did I do when I was 10 years old?
So I think the difference there, obviously, an early goal in both games. Kieran Trippier, very, very instrumental.
The amazing
in both goals.
Free kick, right?
Yeah. But they were the heavy favorite against Croatia going in.
They
in that semifinal.
But I think
no, I'm not. But the point is you're right. England, Croatia, you're gonna the odds makers are going to say England. They go up 1-0. You're like, okay, this is cruise control here. As opposed to this game against the Italians, that was basically a pick 'em, right? Yeah. So, that one could have gone either way. If you listen to our preview show, we talked a lot about how there was likely to be some joy to be had for England down the right side because Spinazzola had hurt himself. I didn't know it was an Achilles injury, by the way. That's
really bad.
That's terrible. It's one of those off the ball injuries. You really hope that he comes back because he was one of the players of the tournament for me.
Yeah, he was for sure.
Yeah, that's almost. I mean, you like to hope that players can come back earlier these days, but yeah, that's probably a full year on the sidelines. And we talked about in the 2016 Euros how Renato Sanchez sort of made a career out of that 3 weeks. Spinazzola was one of those guys for me. If you look back at this,
and the funny thing about him is he's a little older. He's been in lower leagues. He's not some young guy. This was his shot.
Yeah. And that's heartbreaking. But so what we did say tactically was that there would be likely some joy to be had. So it's exactly what happens. I believe Shaw starts the play, gets the ball deep into his own half. Who but Harry Kane gets the ball in space right at the midway point at the center circle.
Does his pass off
does his brilliant pass off, puts Trippier in on the right where nobody's pretty much home. Emerson was so bad in the first half. I can't believe it was only 1-0. But the Trippier ball in was into a dangerous area. Shaw comes all the way back trailing the play.
As Kane was coming back into the box, he drew
everybody,
Emerson towards him. Yeah.
Right. And so,
but the finish was fucking incredible.
So
so good.
We'll talk more about this later in the show and in another example in the Argentina-Brazil game, but there are so many things about football and about professional sports in general that go so completely unnoticed and not talked about because it's just everybody can do it at that level.
Yeah.
My example where it's nothing functionally happens, but I just marvel at it every time is a cross field ball from defender to defender, 50 yards right on the guy's foot. And he just collects it and brings it down. No problem.
Well, I think the thing with Shaw is he's got an incredible first touch. And in this case, he used it to take a volley on the half volley. It was really good.
The thing too, and I was watching the game with a friend of mine who's actually from Italy, fan of the show, Teo Fristacchi, good man. He was saying that it was so interesting, the strategy behind the volley, because 9 times out of 10, you see a player try to hit a volley and they sky it and it goes into row Z. He intentionally smashed it into the ground and he got a short hop. And it just was one of those, was just a seed, goes off the post. Aesthetically, one of the nicer goals you'll see. One of the nicer goals of the tournament for sure. Yeah. And bang, Wembley goes absolutely insane.
I was at ape shit. And that became essentially the first half became a carnival of English football.
Yeah.
And they were sitting behind the ball. They played really well without the ball. As I was watching the game, all I could think about was how good Phillips and Rice were. They were fighting. They were tackling. Insigne had a shot at 8 minutes, and then again at 28. Then Chiesa was scary. Anytime he got on a ball, was scary. But that shot by Luke Shaw in the second minute was the only shot they had until the 56th. So that just gives you a sense of the half. I think England let Italy grow into the game, but it was under control. Like, I would say that Italy were poor. They were not really giving England a hard time, but I started about halfway through the first half, or maybe at 30 minutes, 35 minutes. I was like, can England do this? Is this what they want to do? They want to do this the whole game? And,
the weird thing is,
and Kane was coming deep and getting the ball and drawing fouls, but I don't think he did that the rest of the game. So he kind of wore down. And then as we kept going through the game, and I'm ready to go into the half because nothing happened. Ready to go into the first, 10 minutes of the first half. It's still slow. It's still sort of meandering, but then it starts to move along. 54th minute, 55th minute, Cristante and Berardi come on. That changes things for Italy, and they really start to put the screws on England, and England starts dropping deep to the point that Sterling and Kane are within 10 feet of the back line, 10 yards of the back line.
They're their defenders, right? And so let's stop there for a second, because I did think that there were chances and opportunities, again, going down the right side, abusing Emerson, that England could have gotten a second.
They got better at it, though. Italy changed their shape. They made more width so that they weren't alone. And then Chiellini kind of moved out. They did this weird formation where, like, Chiellini ended up being behind Emerson, almost in possession, playing as a back. And it was basically babysitting him, right? But they did this kind of, like, what's the word? Like, asymmetrical stance, which and then Chiellini and Bonucci were just
massive.
So good.
They're massive.
But they didn't fucking challenge them, which was the worst part about it.
So for me, and you mentioned Berardi coming on, it's it's addition by subtraction as well. When you take off Ciro Immobile, who for me, the entire tournament was terrible.
He just doesn't do what you need him to do, which is they needed him to be more involved, dropping in and giving them numbers in the midfield. But, Italy saw the problems. Mancini identified the issue, got the help for Emerson, stopped the problem with the width where Kane would drop deep. What was happening in the first sort of 10 minutes of the game, Kane would drop deep and then he could put it off wide and then go straight. Yep. What happened was he would drop deep and there was nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So he would just get tackled or beat up. And then sort of Italy was like, okay, we got this. We're good. They started popping the ball, especially around in the second half. And then it started getting very nervy.
Right. So they get the corner, and it's one of those pinballs.
It's a shit goal, to be fair. Like, Italy draw this game. They were dominant, but England didn't give up shit, really.
No. And it's like you said, it's a shit goal off of a set piece. The image I will have, and again, as a Tottenham fan, I've seen it all too many times. The man on the back post, the last defender for England on the goal. Who was it? It was Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but he was on the other side.
Well, he was the only one that he even had like a limbs chance of stopping the ball. And so I just sighed. And again, I'm watching this with a resident Italian in his beautiful condo on the beach. And I'm like,
I think the other side of the story is Italy's adjustments versus England's lack of adjustments, right? Yeah. Like, England didn't make any changes. The changes were, the changes came late. We saw Sacco come on for Trippier after the goal. Okay, that's an offensive change. In fact, I don't think it was a good one. I thought Trippier was the right player.
This is not
Henderson on for Jordan. I thought that was fine. I thought England had a little bit more for Rice. Sorry. Things got a little bit better. I thought Henderson was good, but Rice had fucking really put a shift in. Was really
he was
good.
Gassed.
I was surprised that they just here's England. They were playing with I can't even count, six, seven defenders the whole game. Like, you're at home. Like, I know they haven't played this way the tournament, and
if it spotted a goal,
fine. What?
They got spotted a goal, for Christ's sake,
and they just defended and just didn't seem to have a reaction. It was really after the goal, there was a hope there'd be some mentality shift. Something would happen. You do something, and it goes into extra time. They do have a shot. I think there's a couple headers, but they never really threaten a goal.
There's one late second half incident or moment that I want to call out. No, it's when Chiesa gets hurt. Bernardeschi comes on for Chiesa. At that moment, I'm going, that's a tremendous loss for Italy.
Yeah.
England might be able to see this out. But
again, to go back, they were seeing it out. Like, I don't want to kill them, but then they just started getting really negative. Like we said, really dropping deep. Like it was Man City versus Burnley, and Italy's good. They're not that good.
No. And this game frankly, halftime, but especially after the goal, was crying out for Jack Grealish. And
anyone could have been Sancho, Grealish, and Rashford together. Like, let's go.
But bringing on Henderson, I thought he had a horrible performance. I understand Rice was gassed.
No, he was fine.
I didn't think he was great, but and I'm not going to slate Saka at all.
No, it's fine.
No, but like, it's just awfully confusing for me. Mason Mount was irrelevant again.
It was the running though, but he does all the crosses. He was running. I think, he should have come off probably much earlier. Like, he doesn't come off until
the 99th minute.
Until extra time. But the piece that I'm thinking about is, and I know this is like sacrosanct, and I'm not, instead of playing favorites, Sterling and Kane had to come off. Like, they both stopped doing anything.
So they're
especially as a defending. I thought Kane started to look sluggish. They weren't getting the ball to him anyway. They needed energy, right? At that point, what's Kane doing? What's Sterling doing?
So I actually, and this is going to sound typical Mike, but I don't agree on taking Kane off because he wasn't necessarily going to be the runner. He's the guy who can still produce a moment of magic. And more importantly, when this game goes to penalties, you saw how fragile this team's psyche was. He went first. He's your closer.
I understand that, but he played every minute of every game.
No, I understand. Believe me, he does
For
it all
a guy
the time.
who played every minute of every game under Mourinho, who was gassed. He was gassed. It's okay.
But I'm okay. But what I'm saying is his game is not based on pace, right? So where a guy like Sterling, who he is, that's his shtick, right? We talked about Mount. It's even more true for Sterling. That's a player who probably should come off.
And then you go to Grealish, Rashford, and Sancho right at the end. They could have done it. The funny thing was, like, they could have all come on together.
Yeah.
Right then and there. Like, if you're going to use them for penalties, you're going to use them for, like.
Well, okay. But the idea there is Walker came off, Jordan Henderson came off. He was like, all right, look.
Yeah, but Henderson is the captain of fucking Liverpool. He should take a fucking penalty.
Yeah. No, I'm not arguing that.
Come on, dude.
And so we go to penalties.
It was bad.
There's just so much. We could spend an entire season's worth of episodes talking about Gareth Southgate's management tactics in this game, but also his penalty selections. He decides to go with Harry Kane first, which all right, let me put it this way. If England is shooting first, I don't think Kane shoots first. Because they want to say, all right, let's get up. Effectively, as soon as Italy scores, they're on the defensive and they go, no, we have to get one right here. Kane, you're going. Fine. Smashes it, never a doubt, gets it. Harry Maguire going second, questionable, but he comes through.
He was
phenomenal.
Awesome.
Phenomenal penalty.
Big fucking hammer. And then Belotti looked, I was like, he's missing. He did not look up for this penalty.
So, and this was the interesting thing. At this point, England is through 2 rounds, 2-1 up.
Yeah.
Right? Bonucci scores to put the pressure on Rashford. Rashford takes a good penalty and it just dinks off the bar. What are you going to do?
Yeah. I mean, he moved the keeper. He did everything he was supposed to do and he just missed.
Yeah.
But again, the guys were fucking cold, which is insane.
Yeah.
Right. And they almost didn't get on. Like if there hadn't been a corner, there would have been no subs. What if the refs had blown? It would have been Jordan and Walker taking penalties.
No, it would have been Sterling. Because
Sterling or Grealish. Right.
Because the 4th and 5th penalties, Bernardeschi scores, and now England's back under pressure, and Jadon Sancho goes up. Not forget the fact that he's cold. How old is he? 21.
21, yeah. But he has taken penalties.
No, I understand.
In England, in Germany.
And I don't have a gripe with that. But I think there's something to be said for Sterling being too tired, effectively, right?
Well,
like that.
You don't want him taking penalties.
You don't want him to,
He just is not a good striker of a ball.
Exactly. Grealish, and he actually tweeted after the game saying, I wanted to take when I volunteered. And he basically unintentionally threw Southgate under the bus a bit.
But Southgate said, I chose everyone.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
He really questionable decisions. Jorginho then with a chance to win it. Now, this is my nightmare, right? I don't want Italy to win, but I sure as shit. We talked about him on the last pod. He had the game-winning penalty against Spain. And Jordan Pickford with a massive save.
He just always makes me nervous.
Yeah.
But then we have this final guy. We have
England
Saka.
need to score to continue on.
Yeah,
and
to tie
19-year-old Bukayo Saka from Arsenal walks up and takes the ball. And everybody collectively goes, oh, no. No, not like this.
Yes. It was so like, oh, England, please don't do this.
Okay, let me put it in this perspective. Hours later, I was sitting at home. I was having one more beverage and just kind of going through my thoughts from the game. And I sat there and my heart was broken for 19-year-old Bukayo Saka, who is an Arsenal player. Yeah. I'm sitting here.
You should hate him. I die. You don't even have time to hate him yet.
I just wanted to give him a hug.
And you needed a cuddle.
I was devastated. I was devastated for this poor kid that he was put in that spot at all. But
I have
by the way,
thoughts.
One other thing I want to bring up, and then it's all you.
Yeah.
The player of the tournament for me was Donnarumma. He was phenomenal the whole way through. I talked about him already a lot.
I'm not giving a fucking keeper a goddamn.
He made saves against Belgium. He made saves against Spain. He 2 out of 3 big saves here. He didn't have to do a whole lot otherwise in this game, but man, he's so good. And the thing about too, like penalties, he's just enormous. Like
he's gigantic.
Pickford's an Oompa Loompa compared to him.
Yes,
right.
Donnarumma is 6'5", and the wingspan is some other
terrifying.
Yeah, he's a giant dude.
Yeah. So I was totally blown away by him. But yeah, what was the point you were going to make?
My thing is Gareth Southgate. Basically, he's an accountant. I think we all have to go back and sort of know the history, right? Gareth Southgate is a lunch pail player, has a few caps for England, most known for playing defense at Middlesbrough with Robbie Mustoe. That team plays in the Euros in '96 we talked about it before, with Aston Villa. He takes a penalty and miss. He admittedly has said, this has affected me my whole life. I apologize to my teammates whenever I see them that I missed that penalty.
To put it in American, we're good at this. We put it in American terms, right?
Yeah.
Is that Buckner?
I don't know if it's Buckner because it doesn't happen all the time, right? Like it's more like yakking a free throw,
right.
You go to the line down 1 and you miss them both.
Yeah.
Right. It's that, right? Or it's Norwood wide left, right? It's that level of just like, this is something you do all the time. It's normal and it crushes you. Right. Yeah. So, and then England, I shared this earlier, have set the record of all the big European teams for most lost in penalties.
Yeah.
So this is a team that has history of losing. They hurdle Germany, and Southgate goes to David Seaman, who is the goalkeeper in '96, and literally says, I'm so glad I was able to give this to my teammates after letting them down. It's 30 years later, and he's still talking about letting them down. But as you can see them when they're planning to do the penalties, the England team is all together. They're all chatting. And Southgate is in this. He's got notes. He's got everything. Everything is down to analytics and information. It's based on what they practiced in penalties. It's clear that they have a plan to handle penalties. It's very bureaucratic. It's very English social service. He might as well have been fucking counting crates of tea that were going to get shipped from fucking Bombay to London in 1871 and not worried about, the fact that they were colonizing and stealing all those people's food. It was all of those things. It was Montgomery being scared in Market Garden, not going one bridge too far because he didn't have enough troops in the Battle of the Bulge. And it's just all these things. It was like, this is so English. He's not taking emotion and moment into this. He put players on to take penalties without thinking of the emotional, like, hey, what is it going to feel like to be that player? Rashford said it in his post. I didn't do anything and participate in this tournament. All I needed to do was kick this penalty and I missed. That it was even extra pressure to put them on to do it because they had done nothing. They hadn't played. It was the only moment they could contribute to their teammates winning a championship. And he uses that instead of going, hey, who feels fucking awesome right now? Let's go get this. Jack Grealish is going to go, I feel fucking awesome right now. I just got a blowjob before the game, right? Like, he's that guy, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know who the girl was, but I'm cool. Her hair was frosted more than mine, right? Like, right? He's ready. Raheem Sterling's like, he's a confidence player. He's been playing this whole tournament outside of his house, talking about, I'm from Wembley. I'm so happy to play here. It showed. Raheem Sterling would have fucking taken a penalty. Just if for no other reason, he's at home. He feels good. He's had a good tournament. Take it.
Let's be fair.
If he misses, he misses. But give it to the guys who are in the moment.
Invested.
Feeling confident.
Well, hold on.
Like, because Grealish is getting, like, if Grealish went up, the stadium would have went fucking wild.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. However, and needs to be said, we sat on this show last week and we talked about the difference in the Spain-Italy semifinal when the Spanish team, I'm blanking on the managers.
Luis Enrique.
Thank you, Enrique. Let the players choose.
But it's different. He let the players choose, right? Right, but it's different. It's a moment thing. Like, Southgate can make the choice, right? But it seemed it was pre-made, right? The subs came on at 120 minutes like he knew exactly what he wanted to do. Like, they were brought on, offensive players known for striking the ball with really high technical skill to replace two lunch pail players in Walker and Henderson, not known for being like first touch, stuff like that.
The weird thing is that you could have had them on as the, I don't know, 6th and 7th penalty takers, right? You still should have had Grealish. You should have had Sterling taking kicks. And then what happens? You go, let's say you're still tied. Then you get Rashford. Then you get Sancho. Then you get Saka.
I think the other piece that I really want to sort of examine, because I think we've been having a big argument about this with the Yankees, is the psychological effect, right?
Yeah.
We live in an age of soccer analytics. We talk about expected goals. We talk about shots on target, shots created, through balls. We're in on it, right? And it tells us what happened in a game. And as you accumulate those things, it starts to make a difference. And we've been talking about it with the fact that we should fire fucking Aaron Boone because he's a piece of shit, because he is. Thank you for the 3-run homer against Wakefield. I'll always appreciate it.
We'll always remember you for that, but you gotta go.
And then I don't appreciate that you fucking broke your leg playing basketball, which led us to A-Rod, which led us to a lot of problems. And probably 2004, because that galvanized the Red Sox, because then they got Manny. It's all his fucking fault.
No,
anyway,
was there
they already got Manny. They got someone else instead. Boppy, maybe. Anyway, Boppy was a throw-in. It doesn't matter. I'm making things up as I go. Revisionist history is the best version of history. So, psychologically, the idea of putting into your team's head that they're not good, or not that they're not good enough. They were good enough for a half, but that they're not good enough to go play them. Like, the negative attitude of sitting back, not even keeping a man out. Like, Kane should never have been that deep ever, right? Sterling, fine, he can run like the wind, but Kane should have always been up top just to fucking scare Bonucci and Chiellini. Or Raheem should have always been up top. Always. Because you could just sometimes just hoof it, make them run. They never made them run, ever.
I'm agreeing with you on Sterling, but Kane's dropping back and his ability is what had made it so valuable in the knockouts.
The guy was tracking back on fucking the 4th midfield pass when they were just above the 18-yard. I mean, that's ridiculous. What is he doing there? Yeah. Right? And then England wasn't even coming out. That has to come from the fucking manager. It has to stop. Like, Mancini, for all his fucking amazing suit, he was not going to let Italy. He has literally taken the team that is the most defensive shithouse team in the history of world football. 100 years of cunt, fuck knuckle Italian football, to the point that it was so bad that they missed out in the World Cup. He took that team, avoided the Juve big time players, searched Italy and said, we are going to play this way because that's what the good players in this country can do right now. Serie A has a history of this way, but what Sarri did at Napoli with Insigne, what Atalanta with Sampaoli, those players are doing things. Those Juve players, the young players, and he crafted an attacking Italian team with the soul of the Catenaccio between Bonucci and Chiellini, right? Somehow he was able to get the balance right. And then instead of having a holding mid, have Jorginho, a guy who pops the ball around. How does England not kick the shit out of Jorginho? Like, I've seen City do it. You sit on him, you never let him get the ball, and if you get the ball, you run at him because you'll run past him. He can't move laterally.
He's not a defensive player at all.
He's worse than Xhaka. It's criminal that England had an opportunity to win this trophy at home. They played like Burnley, and I hate Burnley.
Oh, don't we hate Burnley?
But they didn't even hoof it to Chris Wood, who in the role of Harry Kane.
A word on Burnley.
It was sad.
A word on Burnley, because my team had been, as I mentioned, been playing like Burnley for the majority of the last 18 months. And I was burnt. I was tapped the fuck out on club football, on the Premier League, on Tottenham. This tournament in general was such a palate cleanser. It was beautiful. Obviously, the horror of Christian Eriksen early on. Thankfully, he's all right. But
it did make an intensity to it.
Absolutely. It's weird because for a moment, for a day, it actually
was awful.
It ruined everything, right? Like, I shouldn't say it like that, but I think you get what I'm saying. But then after that, it created the greatest story in the tournament, which was the Denmark team and the Denmark fans, right? So you had the England, it's coming home thing. You had England, Germany. You had the Swiss making a run. You know, those two, the 3-1
comebacks on the same day.
That something that's never happened ever. It happens twice in 4 hours.
It was the highest scoring Euros ever.
Yeah. You've got Portugal flying high and then scoring on themselves twice in 3 minutes. There was just so many things. If you go through not just the bracket, but the group stage, there was just so much special, just talent and just great football on display that honestly, I'm back. I'm so excited for the Premier League. I am happy that there is a couple of weeks between
32 days
between now and there, but
we've been at it since fucking July. July.
Yeah.
It's been nonstop since last July.
But it's been a road. It's been around every week. I'm going to kill Mourinho. I'm going to kill Mourinho. I have.
And now you got Nuno, who used to play for Mourinho.
I'm okay with it. We're going to get more than enough into that in the next few weeks. We've got 32 days. But I actually do want to put a bow on the Squeaky Bum Time Euro 2020 bracket challenge. We had so much fun running this. We had a good amount of folks participating and joining. I know you guys are listening now. You saw the group post in the Facebook group earlier today. We have winners. Pete Russo, a good friend of mine, picked Italy to win the whole thing. He is your champion. Our pal from Chop Sports, Dave Sturcio, the Sturch man. He didn't know his ass from his elbow about the beautiful game, and yet he also took Italy and he rode them all the way to second place. So he actually something really cool. We initially said that, we were going to be, not eligible for prizes, but what he ended up doing was he gave it the $100 that he won to World Soccer Shop. He gave it to one of the other folks who's going to buy a jersey for her son, which is super cool. So Jess Florix, who's one of the big chatters in the group as well. So we're happy for Jess.
I think she has a show, right? She goes on their pod.
Sometimes I believe. And then our buddy, our quiet producer, we might argue, Chari.
Our secret producer. He's the third man in our chat group that we talk about football with.
Yeah, well, he came in third. He gets a $50 piece to World Soccer Shop. And we're excited for all the winners. Congratulations to you guys. Thanks for everybody for getting involved. And more importantly, thank you so much to World Soccer Shop. Eric from the marketing department over there. Fantastic folks. we're excited to keep doing stuff with you guys because this was a dress rehearsal, man. Like I mentioned on a show, I don't even know anymore, a week or so ago, the World Cup's going to get big. It's going to get weird. And we're excited to have you guys along for the ride. And
human rights abuses aside, we won't abuse our friends at World Soccer Shop.
What a plug, huh? And one other, Glenn at runyourpool.com was really, really wonderful in helping us set up the pool, get our stuff together.
We'll keep them going for sure.
I didn't really know how the hell to kind of manage all of this. So we found that site, got in touch with him. What a sweetheart. So those, we're making friends. We're making progress. So,
well, you make friends. I don't make friends.
It's all the collective. But speaking of making friends, we want to do a little bit of paying bills and do a little live read on the show. Speaking of saving money and making friends, our friend Joe at attitudeofgratitudeconsulting.com has an extremely unique way to save you plenty of cash on your monthly bills. If you listen to the show, you know that we both have money problems for one reason or another, and Joe has been the guy that we go to. He's the ace in the hole. So please do us a favor. Visit www.attitudeofgratitudeconsulting.com for more information.
We like to snack over here at the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast, and man, we just received our shipment. We keep getting shipments every week of our seasoning that the Sunflower Meadow Seasonings have sent us. They even have a brand new cheddar beer dip exclusively made for the Chop Sports Network, and it is delicious. You can go on their website and see the Chop Sports logo. It's right there on the front of the site. You have to try it. Mention Chop Sports when you talk to Jess and save some money. Visit Sunflower Meadow Seasoning for their entire lineup of products. It's a good time. I have a backlog of different things to taste, and I will continue to taste them slowly but surely until I turn orange.
So we had one final that we've already covered at length. We had the Copa America final, which we didn't really cover all that much on the show.
So just to put into context, right? The Copa America is the Euros of South America. It is a big deal. It is not an insignificant tournament. The thing that's funny about CONMEBOL is that somehow in the draw of which countries are in your region, they only have 12. So all of South America, 12 teams. And because of that, the teams play each other a lot. There is a lot of history. There hasn't been a new country created in South America for a very, very long time. I think Simon Bolivar, the liberator, was the last one to make a new country. But otherwise, it's Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, Paraguay, Ecuador, Colombia, Venezuela. Like that, we know them because that's all there is. Right? Like there's that little group of Guyana. I don't know what they're up to. But anyway, they play each other like 8 times each to reduce the pool from 2. They play like 10 games to lose 2 players, and then they go into the final. So these teams have a lot of history, and one player in particular had a lot of history, and that's the greatest player of all time. I don't care what anyone says, Lionel Messi. He had yet to win a major tournament with Argentina. In fact, he had lost 5 finals. Right? Twice to Chile in 14 and 15, and then in the World Cup in the final as well. In the
One could say they're the South American England.
No, they're not. They're much better than England.
I don't know.
They're tougher than England.
They're tougher than England for sure.
Yeah. So in this team is a lot of known stars, but this is not a great version of Argentina. And their coach never has had a job. He had some small jobs. He had been a bench coach with another Scaloni. And he just said, you know what? We're playing fucking defensive. We have Leo Messi. We have Angel Del Maria. And we're just going to fucking shithouse our way to the final. And that's basically what they did. Messi was the player of the tournament, led the tournament in goals, led the tournament in assists. And Otamendi and our boy, Emi Martinez,
love him,
basically fucking kicked their way to the final. I was at a San Diego Loyal game. It was an exhibition game here between San Diego and the Cholos of Tijuana, which is a big deal, right? That Tijuana is the big team here in San Diego. So I went to the first half. I was like, okay, this is cool. Halftime comes in. All the teams swap out 11 players. I'm like, I'm fucking leaving. And I sat in my car and watched the final 10 minutes or 15 minutes of the Copa. First of all, it was all desperation. It was all heart. There was no shape. Anytime someone got the ball and they were in space, they were kicked or threw themselves on the ground. Neymar did his normal thing when it's on him. He stops passing to his teammates.
Mm-hmm.
So he would dribble. Someone would kick him. He'd roll around. There was one massive chance for a guy called Gabigol, which is the fucking coolest name you can have.
That's a great soccer name.
And Emi Martinez, of course, saved it. It was on the volley, but basically Argentina was just hoofing it and running. The stadium was not really full. They have bad COVID.
It was like 10%.
Yeah, it's bad COVID in South America. Bolsonaro is like a version of Trump. Support him or not, he's a pain in the ass. And then Argentina was supposed to have it, but they had an outbreak and had to move it. Brazil raises its hand with like throwing their version of Anthony Fauci literally in the Amazon River to be eaten by piranhas. And they
we have all these professional bird shitting collections in stadiums in the Amazon desert. So maybe we can just play it there.
But they didn't. They played it at literally the most famous stadium in the world, the Maracanã, which is cavernous. It's 110,000 people. Famous, built for the 1950 World Cup that Uruguay won, which is why I'm going to tell you something crazy. Brazil did not have a black goalkeeper since 1950 because of that game, because they were like, we're never having a black goalkeeper again. He blew it. That kind of country.
That's where we're at. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah. But so we're talking about like real deep rooted history. And so when the final whistles goes, the game is completely forgettable. It's only,
hold on. Because when you hear, Messi and Neymar in the final, both of them completely upstage. For me, at least, the runaway man of the match is Angel Di Maria.
Oh, sorry, the goal. Right, of course.
And so Rodrigo puts in a ball to Di Maria down the right wing. And this is one of those things. This is not an insignificant play, like I mentioned earlier. This is
class.
World class. He catches it. Imagine standing in the front yard, having somebody 10 yards away from you, and they kick a soccer ball to you. And if you are able to just catch it and stop it, congratulations. That's basically the bare minimum, right? Now imagine it's coming at you in the air and you're at full speed and you catch it with your heel.
No, it's a post route that someone kicked.
Yeah.
And you bring it down.
One touch. But with your heel, not with your toes, with your heel. And then his second touch is a rainbow drop over the keeper's head.
Running at full speed.
Ederson doesn't have a prayer. Yeah. It goes, like I said, it rainbows over him and into the net. If you haven't seen it, you really need to catch the highlights on this. It's phenomenal. And Argentina go up 1-0. And like you said, there's no tactics. There's no anything. It reminded me of a South American version of like the Battle of the Bridge between Tottenham and Chelsea, where it was just everybody's kicking everybody. There was no tactics.
So I want to sort of step back a little bit. There are famous games throughout history, some in the World Cup, that actually got rules changed. So there's a famous one in like 1938 where Argentina, like they literally beat up the ref. It's like why they have cards, because no one knew what the hell was being called. Like at early soccer, there's no cards. Right. The ref is just doing things, and all of a sudden the guy leaves the pitch and you have no idea why. Mm-hmm. So they had to change that because people rioted. But there are these games that are literally like the battle of this, the battle of the Maracanã, the this, the that. They take on mythic status, and it's when games degrade just essentially into violence of guys getting kicked, guys rolling around, and this game took on that because Argentina was just like, we're on the road in fucking Brazil and we're gonna win this for our guy, and we don't have the talent to match them. No. We're gonna just shithouse our way to this final, and they did it. And respect to El General Nico Otamendi, former City, getting it done.
I never got to root for him. I was comfortably rooting against Brazil and for Messi simultaneously. But so I've never gotten to watch the Nicolas Otamendi experience from the rooting interest side.
Oh, he's a son of a bitch.
He's crazy. So there were a few players on this side, on this field on both sides that looked like they had a knife in their sock, but he had the sharpest one. Okay.
I mean, he looks like he should have a bandana and have a peg. Like he literally is a pirate. Like he looks the part. And his only great season at City was when he didn't go to the ground. All the other times he was that aggressive defender who just threw himself at you. Mm-hmm. And, now thankfully we have John Stones to not do that. But the John Stones Otamendi experience, that was good. It was like two guys who just wanted someone else to be next to them and be like, don't do that. Right. And they're both just looking at each other, clearly not able to speak to each other. So that was always a mess. But when company was with either of them, it was fine.
Yeah.
But it was great to see. And when the final whistle went, the entirety of Argentina literally went to Messi. He disappears in a pack, like almost like a caterpillar in a cocoon. He has a moment where he's in this cocoon of his teammates, and then he pops out of the top, a full butterfly, and they're lifting him up in the air and singing songs. The whole place goes nuts. Neymar is crying as usual. There's guys, you want to talk fucking bloody sock? This is beyond bloody sock. This is worse than bloody sock. The guy's whole calf is drenched in blood. The players are sweating because they're in fucking the Amazon jungle of Buenos Aires, of Rio de Janeiro. It's an incredible sort of moment that really from a game perspective isn't great, but from a narrative perspective of ranks culture, we get to sort of Messi gets to remove that fucking weight of bullshit. The same way really Ronaldo did with his 2016
Euros.
With his 2016 Euros, where he doesn't play and he's coaching the team and they let that fly for some reason, which I don't understand.
I remember watching the highlights of it because it was the anniversary of it just 5 years ago. And like twice you could see the fourth officials like, hey man, you can't do that. And he straight looks at him and he's limping. He can't even run if he wanted to. He looks at him and goes, I'll fucking murder your family. You tell me to go sit down again. And he's like, the ref goes, right, got it. Okay, you do what you want, pal. It's fine. I'm like, I'm nobody. I'm gonna go kill myself right now.
So Messi has that moment, and it's such a human moment. It's one of these things where, as much as, Messi is, I don't think people really realize this. He's so big. Like he and Ronaldo probably can't go anywhere without being recognized, without being normal people, they don't have air that they can breathe as normal people. And in that moment, when Messi can win and he's with his teammates and he's doing the handshake kind of goal with his teammates and he's singing the songs and jumping up and down, he looks like the kid who loves football, because there's no way you could get to the level that he is without two really important things. You're fucking competitive. You never want to lose. I don't want to hear, oh, he doesn't care. He absolutely fucking cares, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is you've got to love it, right? It's like you can't be super competitive and be like, I don't really want to do this. He loves football and he wants to win more than anything in the whole world, right?
He's got the negative motivation thing on his side. There's an old Nike commercial featuring him, and it's always oh, you're too small, oh, you're not fast enough, oh, you'll never make it, this and that. So, and he just becomes, from the time he was 12, he signed with Argentina.
Lower.
I'm sorry, not with
moved as a child at 10 years old.
Okay.
To Barcelona because they were going to pay for his growth hormone.
Right.
That's literally the reason. He had problems. That's why he looks kind of weird. His nose, he looks kind of like a troll a little bit. Big hands.
It's the weird brother from Wedding Crashers, like the painting where it was a gift, Todd.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
and he had a bad game, by the way. He was not good.
Well, that's the thing, is that so Di Maria has the goal, and then one of the nicer passes you'll ever see puts him on the doorstep. This is in the 80+ minute. He scores this. It's over. Leo Messi from 6 yards out sort of just
fell over
and like fumbled. See what had happened was, and he just fumbles it basically to Ederson. And at that point, I literally let out an audible, Leo, no, because
I was like, oh God, this is going to go so badly if they don't win.
Here comes the Brazil equalizer.
And I think right after that might have been the Gabby goal shot, which was,
it was, I had a mild rooting interest in this game, but
this game was I
felt that
they weren't even passing.
No, it wasn't good. So it wasn't good football, but it was good television.
Yes.
Right.
So I'm counting here. There were 9 yellow cards.
Yeah.
How people didn't get sent off is crazy. So you've got there's a period of 68 minute, 70th minute, 72nd minute. That's three yellows in a row. Then there are a bunch of changes, more changes, and then three yellow cards in a row again.
Right.
So this game is just a fight. It's a rock fight.
Hey,
but
by the way,
great.
Speaking of Tottenham, Gio Lo Celso gets the silverware. Somebody, something, it counts. I'm taking it.
I think for Lo Celso, he just needs a run, right? He just needs to play.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Oh my God.
But those were the two finals. It's over. Well, I mean, and the Gold Cup has just gotten underway.
Don't care.
Tell me how much you give a shit, right? It's
zero give a shit.
So on the scale of the Copa America is the Euros for South America, the Gold Cup is technically the Euros for North America.
Yeah.
With that CONCACAF. With that said, it's a 2-horse race every time. And if there's not, it's because something's gone horribly wrong, not because somebody's good.
Well, the American team is not playing their guys.
And that's the other thing, because now we're so close to the beginning of the new season and the preseason's already gotten underway. So none of these teams have their A-list. It actually makes you wonder why they didn't do this 6 weeks ago. Is it because of the MLS schedule?
I have no idea. I'm not even paying attention to the Gold Cup. It is a non-important
thing. I totally agree.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't it be running concurrent with the Euros and the Copa?
I have no idea.
It's very strange to me.
Here's
Qatar is in it.
Who's that?
Qatar is in the fucking.
Oh, good. Cup. Yeah, they need to get ready
because that makes sense.
I think the thing that I think about, I was talking about this to a guy while I was watching the game yesterday, and I always think Yankees, Red Sox, American League versus National League, competition and fight makes your league better. One of the things that's happened over the summer, there was a big argument between Pep Guardiola and the president of La Liga, who Pep was like, you had Messi, Ronaldo, the greatest rival of all time. You had a 3-time winning Spanish team in La Liga, and you still can't make money like the Premier League? Whose fault is that?
Yeah.
Right. So the argument that the Premier League has English on its side, but it's the competition that pushes the teams. Like Liverpool kept pushing, City pushing against United. And that constant pushing of trying to get to the next rung in the Premier League of these 6 big teams that were going to break away. That why would they break away? They don't need to break away. They have the Premier League. These 6 teams just constantly in a death struggle for revenue, glory, whatever, always pushing each other to get better. And if you falter, you falter. Everton's there. They're ready to take your spot. And then, where I'm going is like Mexico and the U.S. and CONCACAF does not help us. I'm sure Mexico, if they had their druthers and you asked them, they'd be like, yeah, we'd like to be in CONMEBOL. Because those 12 teams in South America are so good because they have to fight each other constantly. Chile will win that thing. Uruguay will win that thing. It's not just Brazil and Argentina.
Sure.
Uruguay, a country that is tiny, has 2 World Cup championships and plenty of Copa Americas. Like they push because they have to fight every step of every claw all the way. And when you play in the World Cup, a team like Ecuador from South America, you're like, this team's going to beat me. You always are. They're all battle tested, right? Even the worst team, Venezuela, not a great team, right? They're still tough. Solomon Rondon will fuck you up.
They've got their own problems. Okay.
Right. Well, now they do, right? Yeah, it's fine. But previously.
Right.
So I just wish like the U.S. and Mexico could just join the South America. The thing is, if we did
you want them to break away. You want them to create a super league.
I do. No, not to break away for money, to break away to get better.
Yeah, I get that.
Right.
Well, you're basically outsourced all of your players. We covered this a while ago. All of them are more or less being outsourced into Germany and the rest of the European leagues. So you're sort of doing that organically.
Have to.
Right?
Yeah, have to. And then the ironic thing is the MLS is plundering South America for better players to try and raise its quality.
Yep.
Because those South American players, they have been strip mined to the point that players don't even get good in Argentina anymore and go to Europe. They're plucked at 16. They don't even get there.
Yep.
Right. They don't even get to play in the Argentina league, and they have lots of corruption. There's lots of other issues, but at the national level, those teams play with verve and fight that is not seen anywhere. I mean, maybe US, Mexico sometimes, but coming from a hostile crowd in the US.
Yeah. I think you could probably count on one hand the amount of times the U.S. has been a true home team playing against Mexico or anybody for that matter. And they've all been in Columbus, Ohio, right? You play the Rose Bowl in front of 75,000 people. You've got 10,000 Americans in the stadium, including the team and the service staff.
It's always the thing is, this is one of these things that's true of nearly all American representative sports. It's just not the thing we get jazzed for. And I'm curious as to what it is. I mean, you're a much more patriotic American than I am. I just don't get it. We don't care about this shit. Is it because we're such a big country? Is it because of the Civil War? Is it because like we don't literally live on top of each other? There's a lot of distance. Like, I'm open to anything about why the United States literally doesn't care about representative sports as a thing.
Because we're supposed to be that much better than everybody. If you look at basketball, if you look at realistically, that's probably the only one where we're that much head and shoulders above.
We just lost to Nigeria and
Australia. I know. But it's become to the level where we won so much where we're like, oh, we kind of know. Okay. The dream team broke it because now they're like, well, we're never going to be that. We don't really care. We don't care enough. And everything's so commercialized. LeBron's making Space Jam 2. He's not playing for the U.S., right?
He put his time in, though. But it's like soccer. It's like he's retired from the national team. That happens. Guy's 36 years old, year 20. That's fine.
No, that's, yeah. But the list of players is that LeBron could be on the team.
KD's playing. That's enough.
Is he?
That should be enough, honestly.
That should be enough. But getting back to soccer, we've been sort of the plucky underdog, and there's frankly not an awareness at the sport level. That's why MLS was more or less created, right? In the mid 90s. And you've got this groundswell that started in 94. MLS has never really been able to take it on. Even the women's game sees World Cup bumps, but then they just go back into the shadows.
It's doing okay.
It's fine, but it's not, by the way, their lead has shrunk to next to nothing on the rest of the world.
They're going to start losing too.
Yeah. And so now what, right? The interest in soccer has really in the last 10 years been down to NBC and down to,
it is big. I think like anecdotally, just our podcast, right? Like we'll go along. I got no kids. I got no family. Let's just keep going. Woo! This is the good stuff. Anecdotally, I think this Euros was big. Like it feels bigger. It feels like it got zeitgeisty. I think, the Ericsson thing did put it on the map of a thing to talk about, but it felt on the ground like it was happening, like it was in the news. Like every regular sort of podcast that kept doing stuff. And it's not like there wasn't other things to talk about. We have lots of sports going on right now. Mm-hmm. Everything's sort of kicking off. It's the NBA finals and we're talking about the Euros, right? Like that's happening, right? Lebitard had fucking Roger Bennett on. Bill Simmons just did the final. Like it's been in the zeitgeist a lot more, and we're going to fucking ride it on the Chop Sports Network, and they're going to help us. We're going to be their group. And I hope that, it gets bigger. It's feels good not to be in the wilderness, right? Like you can walk around and people will ask me about my fucking City shirt all the time. And it's always, when did you become a fan? I'm like, yes, I know.
Right.
2011, it's fine, but I have a good story behind it. So I never lose that battle.
And I mean, I get that all the time as well. I mean, anytime I wear Spurs stuff, now it's like you see other Tottenham fans, you just run into them because you're wearing something, or I see somebody wearing a Tottenham shirt. Or I actually, a couple of weeks ago, was driving down the street in my neighborhood and I saw a guy with an Arsenal shirt on, and I rolled down the window and I yelled, "Come on, you Spurs. Fuck you, buddy." And I sped off.
Did you really?
I did. And I fucking sped off like I was 17.
I do hate to see those fucking red United shirts. I see them.
That's what I mean. It makes you
fuck.
It makes you just, it brings out that visceral reaction that I only have for a few things in this world, right? Like it used to be what the Red Sox stuff when I was a kid, or like
I hated that fucking Sweet Caroline shit that England. Where did they get that? Why did it happen? Stop it. Stop.
I did not care for that myself. I'm glad you mentioned that. By the way, speaking of songs, It's Coming Home is dead now. It has to be dead forever. At least
no, it'll until the next World Cup. It'll come home again.
Because here's the thing, this made sense because
it literally was at home,
right? Like, I will not participate. I love the song. I was humming it.
I can't get over it. It's the best.
It's great, but it has to go.
I play it.
It's time to go, Robbie. It's time to go.
Oh, respect. He would have been a good take on this fuck up. With Saka. He would have been sweet and kind. Poor Claude. Yeah, I play It's Coming Home when Lisa's coming home and I have Aveline. So she says, Mommy's coming home. She's coming home. Mommy's coming home. So that's my Daddington moment of the week. And then I think some other house cleaning. When Ted Lasso comes back, we're covering the show. That's just
we're gonna go on Ted Lasso.
I bought the sweater.
Yes. I have not bought any merch yet, but I've flirted with it. The Desert Dogs or the Diamond Dogs, is it right? I have to rewatch it, but I'm excited for that. I'm trying to get some of the actors from the show on as guests.
Keep trying. Why not? What the hell?
I reached out to Higgins today, we'll see. I actually heard back from a few of their managers. Nice. I heard back from Jamie Tartt's manager, Hannah Waddingham, who's wonderful. She plays the team owner. She's so good in that role. It reminds me of.
I don't care.
Great. She's
old and hot. Well,
yeah.
Old. She's my age.
Well, yeah, but she rocks it. I think the most interesting thing about her role is, I said this to you earlier today, that she plays the evil owner from Major League, and the storyline writes her into a protagonist. Effectively, Ted Lasso's character exudes and radiates so much goodness that
he just makes everybody better.
He creates protagonists out of 4 to 5 antagonists. Roy, Jamie, the owner. Right off the top of my head, right? So it's so interesting how he elevates Nick Mohammed, who plays Nate the Great.
Legend.
God. So now that you've seen it, we haven't really talked about it. The scene on the road, I forget which team they're playing, where he does the team talk.
Everton.
It was Everton. It was a Goodison, and he just roasts everybody. So my goodness, I fell out of my fucking chair. Oh God, it's funny. So if you've made it this far into the show, which we know you haven't,
it's okay. No, get involved. Who cares?
You haven't seen Ted Lasso? Go watch.
It's not a soccer show, but it is a soccer show.
It's a show loosely based around soccer.
It's like your dream show. It's like Americans are awesome.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Americans are awesome, and you idiot English people are fucking things up with your Englishness.
Well, and even like him trying to accommodate or acclimate, I should say, to all of the Englishness in a greater suburb of London, right? Like, it's just so enjoyable.
By the way, I know where all that is. It's Richmond. Richmond is probably the nicest part of London. It's sort of outside. There's the Queen's Park is there.
It's West London, right?
Southwest, yes. But it's like, it's where the National Rugby Stadium is, Twickenham. Is over there.
I drove past that. I know exactly where that is now.
Yes, that's Richmond. There's also a park there that, this is so English. It's called the Queen's Park. Richmond Queen's Park or whatever. There's protected stag that are in that park. They must have been there since, the 17th century. That no one ever kills, or they must prune them somehow. But you drive up your car and their deer come see you because they're protected. They're fine. They're like, oh, no one's going to do anything. So weird thing in England. You drive, there's fucking deer on your car, and they're just like cool and just like, oh, you're not shooting me with a bow and arrow with fucking, you're not sicking dogs on me. Oh, good. Thank God. I am going to wrap this show up. That was the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. We are the football wing of the Chop Sports Network. We record on Tuesdays and Fridays, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, because it makes a difference for the show. Join in, have fun, love us all, and we may take a break.
We're going to figure it out.
All right.